Hi guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, my brother, I tried calling my brother earlier, older brother, and he finally called back because he just got home. So I got interrupted by that. But so anyways, I'm on here to explain my Spectrum fiasco today and my crazy day. So if you didn't follow me before, see the first video. What I'll probably do is I'll upload both videos side by side, as well as having these lives on the live feed, so that you can catch both of them side by side and get the whole full story instead of me starting from the beginning again and doing all this stuff. This is the problem when it's on my phone. But so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start off from where I was before. Basically, hey Scott. What I was saying before is the fact that when I went over today, our cable box died, basically, to surmise the last video. Our cable box died. I was like, okay, I'm going to need to go and swap out a new one. Thought I could go to the Orchard Park office. The Orchard Park office wasn't working, didn't work or whatever. Tried calling that one, called Tech Department. Tech Department said maybe West Seneca. Tried calling West Seneca. West Seneca wasn't there. So then I called another line, and the other line said possibly the Cheektowaga office. So then I waited, and I got advice saying from two other people that the only place accepting in-person trade-ins are the Cheektowaga one in Apple Tree Mall. So in order for me to do that, because today's Tuesday and Arlene came to bathe Gramp, I had to be able to have our aide, who doesn't usually come over on Tuesdays, come back over to be able to do that. So that Gramp's not by himself, because I knew it was going to be pretty much an all-day ordeal. I just didn't think, I figured it was going to be a couple hours, you know, whatever. But I didn't think it was going to be a full day ordeal type of thing. So, in my last video, I left off with the idea that after I went over there, got the new box, came home, you know, after I had to do the rigmarole of the whole COVID and one person at a time and blah, 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 and do the thing, and contact list, and I came home, put it together, and then they said call the hotline to activate it, and so I did at 5:55, because I remember, because I'm a number person, and I remember the numbers, and I'm like, okay, and Pearl had got dinner ready, so she was like, okay, you're gonna quickly do that, and they're gonna send the code. Sorry, I'm still kind of upset, and then it's gonna be okay. So I'm on the phone, and we're talking to the girl, and she's like, okay, there's a big problem. They gave you the wrong one. They gave you a DVR one instead of the original one. So I'm like, oh, okay, so what's the problem? She said, you're going to be charged $3 extra for this. And I said, all right, fine. What's $3? I'm already paying $130 or something. Well, I'm not. We are, as a family or whatever. For the service or whatever, what's $3 more? And so she's like, I'm like, okay, just do it. Just send the code, whatever. Then she realizes that if she does that and activates this box, we're not going to get our bundle pricing of only $130. We're going to end up having the bundle's going to be dissolved, and the internet is going to go sky high to $84 just for the internet. Okay? Just for the internet. And I'm like, what? I said, that is not what I want. So she said the only other way to get what we had before is to have the original box version back. So either I had to have somebody come again to the house to do it, have a tech call, or go there myself and swap it out yet again. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I should have the guy there should have known this. I mean, it's not my fault that you guys and your people that are working for you don't know what they're doing. I said, I shouldn't be penalized for this, and technically, I don't really even care, because I never watch it, but Gramp shouldn't be penalized for this. And the reason why I didn't want anybody coming in the first place was because of COVID, and Gramp's got a catheter and a pacemaker. He's high risk. I don't want people coming in and traipsing from who knows where they're coming from, or who they've been in contact with, or whatever, you know? So I'm like, this is now becoming a bigger headache than it needs to be, and I'm getting very frustrated. So she's like, I understand. This lady was really good. She's like, okay, I'm gonna transfer you over, because I was on originally, before I got her, I was on hold for about a half an hour to 45 minutes, and I'm like, okay, finally got through, and then this all happened, and I'm like, missing my dinner. And then she's like, I'm going to transfer you over to customer support resolution. So I was like, okay, because she's like, we'll try to get you the bundle, see if we can keep the bundle, or see what we have to do, because she couldn't do it on her end. So I'm like, okay, fine. So they transfer me over. So while I'm transferring, I'm kind of eating my meal and and we're just getting like, oh my God. So I get a hold of this other lady and she's like, okay, what's your problem? And I explain the whole thing and she's like, wait a minute, you're doing too many different things at once. There's too much information. You're explaining two separate issues. And I'm like, what do you mean two separate issues? She goes, well, sometimes these other people that are talking about the DVR, and she went on and on and on, said they don't know what they're talking about. So she's like, okay, for first thing first, if you just got the wrong one, we're just going to swap it out. We'll mail you one of the old ones so that once you get it in the mail, which is going to be, usually it's 3 days, but now, because of COVID, it's now 6 to 7. And I'm like, well, is Gramps still going to have TV? And she goes, well, hold on. And I go, okay. And she goes, we'll swap that out. I'll send you a new one. I'll put the order in to send you a new one, a regular one. And then basically, when that one comes in, you put that old one back in the box and you swap them out and you send the one back. As long as it's within 30 days, you don't have to pay for anything. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So then she's getting it going, and she misheard me, and she thought that I thought I could keep the DVR without having to pay for it. And I'm like, that's not what I said, but okay. Hence, Mercury Retrograde and communication errors and technology issues. It's been one of those days. And so I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. I understand you have to bring it back and you don't have to pay for it. I'm not one of those people that would rather get away with cheap stuff and screw the system. I get it. And she's like, okay. I didn't say that, but she was like, oh, I understand that you understand. Okay, so we were back on par and it was good. And then she's all like, all right, let me just figure this out and get that going. So she put me on hold again for another while. And now by this time it was 7:20, okay? And I started originally on the phone at 5:55, okay? So this whole entire time, I'm like, I was able to go out, move my car, come back in, and I'm still on hold. Anyways, then finally she gets back on the phone and she goes, oh, they're not going to let me send it out. And I'm like, and she goes, hold on, the other lady's typing, which must have been her supervisor, but I thought it was the other lady she was talking to before. She goes, there's a whole big issue here. I don't know what's going on. And I'm thinking, I know what's going on. The other lady just explained it to me, which is what I explained to you in the first place, which is what she's now getting on her end. And she's like, oh, well, okay, this is interesting with this whole pricing thing and all this stuff. And she's like, I'm like, yeah, that's what I told you in the first place. So I'm like, ugh. So this time I'm getting really frustrated with the lack of communication. Mind you, hold on, sorry a minute. Oh, peppermint water. Helps calm you down and helps not have stomach issues. Vitality, by the way. Only Young Living. Only trust Young Living. Anyways, she said, hold on, wait a minute. And I was just like, what, really? And she could hear it in my voice. Because when I first answered, I'm like, I must have been inadvertently swearing a little bit. And just being like, nothing too bad. I'm just like, this, I've been, I don't even remember what I said. But she must have gotten agitated. And I'm like, ooh. So I changed my tone. I calmed down. So originally when we got on the phone, she was not a happy camper. Because she did not want me to be mad. She didn't like me that I was already mad. So then finally she comes back on and she explains that they can't send it out, but then all of a sudden her supervisor is going to actually mail it out on her behalf. So then I said, okay, well then can you activate it? And she goes, no, you're going to have to activate, you're going to have to call back in on that activation line. And I said, dude, that's what I just called at 5:55 when I first got home to try to activate the damn thing in the first place. And that's why I'm all over to you 2 hours later. And she's like, well, ma'am, just calm down. Just calm down. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, well, you've only been on the phone for a couple hours. Like, it's like chump change. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm not eating dinner because I'm on here trying to get this done for my grandfather. Sorry, I'm getting heated. I said, a couple hours? What? I said, yeah, a couple hours. That's a couple hours out of my day when I have to do a bunch of other stuff that you're just thinking is like, oh, it's just a couple hours. Just like, oh, I just have to, go over here and wash the dishes. It's nothing, whatever. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way, lady. And so now I'm getting really kind of frustrated, extremely frustrated. And she can hear it in my voice, and so can Pearl, who's sitting on the other side. And Pearl was looking at me like, what the heck? Because I had her on speaker. So Pearl heard the whole thing, to aid Pearl. And so I'm like, wait, what? And she goes, and I go, it's just a couple hours. I said, I was on the phone since 5:55, and I said, and I went back and forth to Cheektowaga. I left at like 1 o'clock, 1:30 this morning trying to get this all done and do all this stuff. I said, lady, I didn't say it, but I'm like, I am frustrated because I spent all day doing this. And she goes, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's been a long day. And I did say goddamn fucking day. Sorry. But I did. I said, it's now, because I'm like, now I have to call again and be put on hold again to the computer to talk to another person to be put on hold until they can freaking activate it, which is going to take another 20 minutes. So by that time, Gramps going to go to bed and it's going to be 10 o'clock. So I'm like, there's no sense. I'm like, this, and then I'm like, I might as well just freaking, I'm like, I might as well just hang up and do it tomorrow or whatever, do that stuff. And she goes, ma'am, what did she say? It was just so funny. And I'm just like, it was almost like, ma'am, we're not going to go there. Or, no, she said, ma'am, we're not going to do this. Ma'am, we're not going to do this. And I go, excuse me? I said, if I were you, I think you'd be upset too. And she goes, well, we don't need that attitude and that tone. I go, hey, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I said, you can't help me now. You're telling me point blank that even though if I activate this box and get it ready for Gramp, I'm going to have to pay all that extra money, which is whatever. Because finally I'm just like, okay, if you can't activate that because of that stuff, I said, just pay me, just do the whole thing. I'll have to pay it. We'll have to figure it out. Just can you activate it at least so Gramp can figure out what he's doing? And she goes, no, you have to call back in on that line because I can't do it on this. And I said, well, what the heck is the sense of you doing that? And she goes, well, we're talking about two different things. Now you're talking about pricing and the activation. That's completely different. Hey, Bonnie. So I'm like, no, it's not. I get they're two different topics, but they interchange. And she goes, well, probably the reason why she didn't activate it before was because she was concerned about the pricing. And I said, yeah, that's why she sent me to you, to remedy the situation if we could. That's the whole reason why I've been on the conversation with you for the last hour. And she goes, excuse me, ma'am, we don't need to get that way. And by the time I got to there, I'm like, I'm done. I said, you can't freaking help me right now. And she goes, okay, fine. I go, no, basically you're explaining that you can't help me. And she goes, all right, fine, we're done. I get it. Whatever. And she's like, well, I guess, whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, she goes, fine, I guess we're done here. And I go, yes, we are. I said, I'm just going to hang up because I don't need your attitude either telling me that I don't need to be angry because of the bullshit that's happening. I said, I'm a customer. I am the one that that helps you guys keep your job. If it wasn't for the customers, you guys wouldn't have a job. So trying to tell me the fact that you didn't like my attitude, dude, I work in retail. I get when people are agitated, but we never are trained. We are never trained to tell the customer that we don't like their attitude unless they're really out of line. And there's no way I was out of line because I wasn't even in person. I was just on the phone. And, all I needed to hear from her end was, I am so sorry you went through this. It must have been a really tough day. You shouldn't have had to go through that. I just needed to be told that what I went through was not right and confirm that. And then I would have been calm. But instead of telling me you don't need to get an attitude towards me, excuse me? Who do you think you are? You have a job because I'm a customer. Your company is there because of people like us. You don't get to call, put on errors because of stuff like that. I don't think so. The world does not revolve around you. And I said, if you're, by this time I was already off the phone with her and I just hung up because I was just going to say something that I wasn't going to be able to take back, So instead of saying that, I just hung up flat right and I'm like, oh no, time to hang up. So I was just like, I'm done. Unfortunately, Gramps going to have to suffer because he's not going to have the thing back. I called my brother and we're trying to figure out what to do because right now, the only way to remedy the situation, because he does not want to pay the extra stuff, which I figured we'd be like, okay, just pay it, just do it, whatever, he'd have to figure it out, would be for me to go and figure out what to do and to go and replace it out of my own time, my free time. Because he doesn't have free time and nobody else can. Technically, they're lucky that I'm actually able to do it because I'm not on the bill, like the thing, and I don't pay it. He's the POA. So if he doesn't have time, then we're trying to figure out what we can do next. Now, this is why I said Spectrum sucks. Don't go with Spectrum. Some people in Spectrum are very nice. Some people, like the one I had before and yesterday, were very nice, and they had very good customer service values and manners. This lady, she had errors. She started out pretty good, but then when she got triggered by me getting aggravated at what was going on, and then she wanted to cut it down so I wasn't aggravated, so she's like, we're not going to go there. And you do not tell a customer you're not going to go there. That is not how you cut. in order to calm a customer down, you need to be sympathetic and empathetic and reason with them to get them into a more set mindset. Basically, the customer wants to, I mean, this is all training I learned from my training at Sherwin-Williams as a retail paint person. I mean, come on. And I'm dealing with the actual public. This lady doesn't necessarily was on a call thing, so she's not necessarily in the public. She could have been working from home too. I don't know. My point is, she handled it extremely wrong. But at least she didn't handle it super wrong, so I'll give her kudos for that. But my point is, don't go with Spectrum. If you have Spectrum, seriously try to get off of it if you can, because there are a whole bunch of false advertising and fake news, like fake, not, the news is okay, but I meant like the way they advertise things is not, they're not legit at all, and there's terrible, terrible reviews all around the place about it. And unfortunately, that's a lot of peppermint. I put 2 drops in here. Whew, so strong. Transfer over to my regular water in my crystal bottle. So unfortunately, Graham's gonna have to deal with no TV. I have him reading books and stuff. It's not as good as it should be, but basically, my whole point is, if you have Spectrum, get off of freaking Spectrum. They suck. I was talking to my brother, and basically, I need the internet for my Young Living business, so we definitely need internet somehow. But at the same time, Gramp needs TV, but if we can get like a Roku or something else like that, like it's a streaming thing. Gramp watches like maybe 1 or 2 channels at best. He doesn't watch the news, doesn't do anything. He likes Discover with an Animal Planet, those types of things. If we can just stream those, it'd be fine. We could get rid of the landline. Nobody calls the house anyways. And then we could save a bunch of money that way, and then that's okay. But now I have to figure out all the pricing and stuff like that. So if anybody on here has Roku or any of those streaming services, which I'm going to do another post a little bit later about it, please educate me on how much you saved between things and what the bundles are, how you like it, how you don't like it, what's the positive, what's the negatives, because I'm definitely going to be needing to do that, because we don't need all this Spectrum and all that stuff right away for all this stuff. And I can do my internet. I've got unlimited data on my phone because I pay for that on my phone, so I can do my Young Living technically through my phone, and I can just unfortunately just not have my laptop if that needs be, but I need it here because I can't leave the house without it. When I could go to the library for free, we can't do that now anyways. So I'm looking for advice on what you guys do for watching things, and yeah, that's my story. So if you guys have any advice for me, please tell me. I'm sorry, this was all just chopped in two and different things were going on. But the day started out pretty crazy with a severe bloody nose that I had, that I haven't had since high school, when it was so bad it's just gushing, and then I had to blow the blood clot thing out of my nose in order for it to stop. And I didn't get to do what I wanted to do with the Young Living yet. I have to unbox my Young Living, so that's at least going to be good. But I also need to take a shower and calm the F down, because I am just so livid with Spectrum. And I get COVID. I'm sympathetic to the whole COVID thing. That's why originally I wasn't really mad, and I understood that there was going to be problems. That's why I took most of the afternoon, and I had the time, basically, where I'm like, okay, it's going to take a while, because you got all these new stipulations. Oh, Gramps going to lay down because he's got nothing other to do, because I'm not down there. It's okay. He's going to go to bed in a couple hours anyways. I feel bad because he's bored. He is bored out of his mind right now, but it is what it is. Excuse me. But yeah, so that's what's going on. I get to go to work tomorrow, and hopefully it will be calmer, and I can just be calm. Well, I'll be calm anyways, until 7, because our hours are now longer extended, so that'll be at least a little bit nice. But I definitely have learned, don't eat chunky soup, or at least I can't have chunky soup because it's not good, and I have to do Progressive because chunky soup has MSG, and I just grabbed real quick what I had, and it was not good. So anyways, I'm gonna have to do my Young Living unboxing soon, and but I just wanted to update you with what's going on and how not to choose Spectrum internet and crap, because there's the fees that are just hidden fees that they don't even tell you about, and the fact that they swap it out and they didn't tell you, and they should have. And this whole COVID, I get, is causing so many people to not do stuff, but it's just more trouble than it's actually worth now. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna have, I mean, there were a ton of people when I went there. There was a huge ass line. That's why it took me like forever to get in there, of people. What I heard is that basically the routers, Spectrum redid their service, basically updated it or something, so the old routers aren't working anymore, so there's a lot of people going in and having to trade in their boxes for the newer ones. And Spectrum in general doesn't have new ones. They refurbish them. So when yours doesn't work, they go in and basically the tech people or whoever behind the scenes fix it up. I don't know if they put new parts in and keep the base, I don't know. But it's not a brand new one. It's a refurbished one. So the one you get was already used by somebody else as well, even though it's in more cellophane packaging, because they send it off to the plant wherever they do and put new parts in it and then seal it back up again and send it back to the people to send back out. But yeah, I'm done playing games with this company. My grandmother tried switching it out years ago and trying to get us off the one package into the cheaper one and just having one thing, and she said they would charge you a whole bunch more if you took it off the pricing. They would not really work with any of us, and it's just a shit show from the get-go. So, yeah. So, that's my story, and I am so glad that I have my essential oils, my CBD, and all that other stuff, which I've got my new CBD in here, which is peppermint, and the other ones, and my tins, and I'm excited because I got my chest rub as well, and my vitamin D, and all my cool stuff in my Young Living box down here for the convention. So, anyway, I'm gonna get off now because it's been really long, and I'm exhausted, and I need to relax. Alright, I gotta go. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry about all the craziness, and sorry for the two videos, but I'll put them up side by side in one of my videos, and then you can figure the whole story from front to back. So now we're just kind of figuring out what other avenues we can do, and we'll be another person that is no longer a Spectrum person because they suck hardcore, and there shouldn't have been any of this stuff. And I'm pretty sure now people are going to realize Spectrum is not the way to go, even though it's the only pretty much service around here for certain things. But people are seeing that they have the power and they can take it back, and they don't have to use Spectrum. They don't have to use the big people. Alright, I will talk to you guys later. Good luck. And if you have any advice on what cable services or other TV services you guys use and the pricing, I'd love to hear it because I'm looking. Alright, love, light, and blessings, everybody. Namaste. And stay as sane as you can. I tried not to get triggered today, but it was kind of hard with the whole thing, and I had to take myself off the phone call in order to not get triggered anymore. So it's Mercury Retrograde, technology issues, communication issues, frustrations are high. Mars is in Aries now, the planet of war, and fiery attitudes and things. So yeah, that is what I had to deal with today. I don't really blame the lady. I don't know what she was dealing with herself. She could have had some other stuff that she was dealing with in the background. Maybe she was having a bad day too. But to be honest, her skills need a lot of work. And I would give her only 1 star. Well, maybe 2, because she did try to tell her supervisor to send out the box on my behalf, but the whole system gets 1 star. So, but the 2 girls before that were good, and they get 4 stars, because they really helped me out, and they were very considerate, and they understood it, and they were sympathetic, and they understood, and this lady just, she didn't care. I mean, she cared, but she only cared to the point where it would gonna get probably her better ratings, or like, I don't know, the whole when she got on the phone and she like cut me off and said, well, hold on, this is not the way it's supposed to go. Like the whole, from the beginning of the conversation with her, I did not feel like I felt like she was like a mother, like scolding me, like, no, you've got it wrong, and I'm gonna set you straight right now. And that's not how you want to start a conversation at all with somebody, especially now, especially with tensions high with everybody. So anyway, she needs more people skills. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later. Love, light, and blessings. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the flip side. Tomorrow's the 1st of July. Happy 1st of July, everybody. We'll see what else the world has in store for the year of 2020. 6 more months, guys. This will be interesting. Mars is in Aries for another 6 months, and during that time it's going to go retrograde, which means we're going to have a lot of interesting things develop within the world. So, it'll be an interesting world. Who knows what 2021 will be. Hopefully a lot better than it is now. All right, love, light, and blessings, everybody. Namaste.